Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is obviously one of them. We have a Facebook group at liveauthentically.today/FB, and we would love to have you join us. Here you'll find a group of like-minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation. Also, I am super pumped to tell you that I just launched my first book. It's called SOAR, S-O-A-R, and it is an experiential spiritual journey through a transformative life experience. And in it, I show how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. I'm also a spiritual life coach, so I work with individuals on a daily basis to help them step into their purpose and find deeper meaning in their lives. So I am super thrilled that on my show with me today, I have Roberta Kelinson. Hi, Roberta.
Hi, how are you, Pam?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm super excited to hear all about what you do and how you change the world on a daily basis. But before we do that, I always start my shows off with the same question for all of my guests. And that question is, what does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
Yeah, that is truly an important thing, I think, for everybody. And for me, it is listening to my heart and listening to my soul. From the minute I wake up until the minute I go to sleep, I want to answer their calling and make sure that I'm doing the things that are important to me to feed and nourish myself. So that is how I live authentically every single day.
Such a beautiful answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what do you anchor on as you go through your day and try to stay in that authentic place, being aligned with your soul? What anchors you? Because we all have things that pull us out of alignment, right? Life, everyday stressors, etc. So do you have a guiding mantra or phrase that you like to anchor on that brings you back to that centered place?
I do. First of all, whenever I feel like I'm moving away from that centered, grounded feeling, I go immediately to my breath. And I take a few minutes to just, breathe in and breathe out. And I think to myself as I'm breathing in and out, I am breathing in, I am breathing out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very calming and very soothing. And then the other thing that I like to do, my mantra is all is well, all is well. And I will repeat that in many different situations. There's, if I'm in a situation where I'm feeling a little bit anxious, I'll just stop and go, all is well, relax, it's okay.
Yeah, I love that. And how true that is, right? Everything is perfect in every moment, even when we're in challenging situations. And I know that's a really difficult time to embody that thought or that truth that all is well, or everything is perfect in every moment. My life is unfolding for me, not to me, etc. So what words of wisdom do you have around that? Let's say someone's in a super challenging situation, and how can they get their mind to a place where they believe that all is well?
Well, it's definitely a shift in mindset, but it's also a shift in how we look at the universe around us. And I think that definitely what we give out comes back to us. And so if we are feeling love and peace and calm, that energy is moving throughout space, throughout the universe, and will come back to us in my eyes tenfold. Mm-hmm. And so I like to just think that I am on this path and this journey for a reason, and everything that happens to me along my way, whether it's finding a new friend or whatever it might be, it was meant to come to me for a reason. Mm-hmm. And the reason is to learn from that. How do I learn from that? What do I take away from any new change? And you're right now, change is happening all around us. It does every day anyway, but right now it seems like we're just being bombarded with lots of change. And so I find yoga helps me to stay balanced, grounded, really centered. And then I just try to go through my life the way I feel is compassionate and kind and loving toward everybody that I meet.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. I would love to hear about the chronology, the sequence of events, kind of the highlights that brought you to your purpose, because you are sitting squarely in your purpose, shining your light into the world, bringing new souls into the world every single day. And we can talk more about that. But can you tell me about the events that led up to this point?
Sure. I was a public school educator for 35 years. So I've always loved being around children. And I have a daughter myself, and just children are so enlightening. And about 12 years ago, I woke up one morning and I couldn't get out of bed. And I thought, what in the heck is wrong with me? This is really unusual. So with my husband's help, I got up and I started moving. And the more I moved, the better I felt. And then I would go to sit down and I wouldn't be able to get up again. Well, long story short is that eventually I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And 4 years after that initial diagnosis, I was finally diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I found that we talk about gifts and things that are brought into our lives for a reason. And I really believe my reason was to help me find yoga and the journey that I've taken with yoga. It wasn't long after my diagnosis that I was being treated with steroids for a year, and the havoc of being on steroids to our body. And so I felt, even though I was a swimmer and I swam every day, I still just felt like I wasn't really in my body. Okay. And when I found yoga and a yoga mat, it was just so clear to me. This is the path that I'm supposed to be on. So after just doing yoga about a year, I decided that, when I retire from public school education, I'm going to be a yoga teacher. Okay. And I came home and shared that with my husband, and he said, well, where are you going to get this training? I said, I don't know. I'll find a training somewhere. It's not impossible. And about 2 months later, the studio where I had been practicing announced their very first 200-hour teacher training. So I signed up immediately. I went through 200-hour, and I've never looked back. And then as my dis-ease sort of took control of me for a while, I thought that I needed a path, not just with yoga, but helping other people who may have things going on in their bodies as well. And so I had a group of women that had everything from cancer to abnormalities in feet and hands. So I had to modify and adjust a lot of poses for them. And then I was led down the path to prenatal yoga. And it is amazing. This is where I was supposed to be. You have a quote on your website that says something about, when we finally find that passion and that purpose, it's not work. Right. It's not a job anymore. It becomes our just feel good, what we were supposed to do. And that is how I feel about prenatal yoga. This is where I was meant to be. And to guide a mommy and her little soul that she's growing within her on a yoga mat just is an amazing experience to me.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Through this journey to specializing in prenatal yoga, and becoming a midwife of souls. I love that.
Thank you.
What have you learned about yourself on this part of the journey? Obviously, you spend much of your time imparting your gifts on others, but I'm assuming there is growth and transformation for you as well in this process. So what is one thing you've learned about yourself?
I have learned extreme patience and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say I wasn't a very patient person prior to coming into a world of yoga. And when I found prenatal yoga, I just felt that I was home, that everything I needed and was to give to other people had been presented right in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel that it's my essence and my duty to show women that we are in control of our own bodies. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to take that ability back to trust ourselves, to listen to ourselves, and to move through the journey of pregnancy in a total different way than we move through the rest of our life, by shutting out the rushing and focusing more inward and giving that little soul and the soul of mommy time to nurture one another.
What a beautiful what a beautiful experience that must be on both sides for you and the mother and the child. So that's just amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I would love to talk more just generally about yoga, the benefits of yoga. I know I'll share a little personal experience. I've long been a very, high intensity kind of, just runner, just very high, those intensity types of exercises. And my trainer said to me, you really should be doing yoga once a week. Just give it a try. And I had a really hard time, admittedly, shifting into that space. It just wasn't my speed. I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm working out. And the more and more I did it, the more I started to crave it. So what words of wisdom do you have around, for people who either are reluctant to try yoga because they don't think it's their thing, or they don't think yoga is for everyone, or for the people who are in those early stages who are having a hard time making the shift, as I did years ago, until I fell in love with it and it became part of my everyday life. So what words of wisdom do you have around that, words of encouragement?
Well, I think you hit upon, as being a runner, that you were used to that fast paced, I really feel like my body's doing something, where yoga is more of an inward journey and you're doing the work from the inside out. Because what we learn on our mat is carried over into regular life. And that is learning to slow down, to notice things that are happening within our body and our mind, and how those impact us every single day. So when I get somebody who says, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm just not flexible. And I'm like, but you can. You had flexibility at some point in your life and you can get that back. And, just try it out, see what you think. And they usually will say, oh, you were right. You were right. I didn't give it a chance. I was judging. And those are lessons that we learn as well on our mat, to let go of judgment against ourselves or others, to let go of our inner competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So as you talk about, your body feeling like, I really worked out hard, I think that you can still work out on your yoga mat very physically, but yet you can draw back from that, pull back from it, and notice that mind-body connection. Because there are some deeper connections that a lot of people haven't made yet. And I think if more people gave yoga a try, and you definitely have to find the right class.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go to a 90-minute class that is a hot vinyasa, hardcore class when you're just a beginner. You want to find the beginner classes, the gentle classes.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had women my age, come to a prenatal yoga class because it's gentle, and it's kind to their body. And they'll be like, wow, some of the things you do with those prenatal students of yours are difficult poses. And I'm like, yeah, some of them can be. So it's listening to their inner voice and saying, okay, I can really do this because it's a benefit to slow down, to find breath, to clear the mind, and then to unite everything that they learn on their yoga mat and take it outside of a studio into the real world.
Right. And I think that's the piece I know in my journey that I was missing, that mind-body connection, the spiritual piece of it. I was focused on just the physicality of it. And once I realized that it is about the mind-body connection, it is about the journey inward, then it was a completely transformative and different experience. And there was some resistance early on. You talked about judgment, and I would love to hear you expand on that a little bit, because I know that was freeing for me. To release the competitiveness, right? Competing with myself, I was forever looking next to the mat next to me for, how come she can go through all this flow really easily and I can't? And I was getting frustrated. And then I thought it was actually on my yoga mat when I fully understood that spirituality is an individual journey. It's not about me versus the person next to me, right? It's
right.
Me and my mat, and it's me versus. It's my practice. It's my individual practice. And that's what life is. Life is an individual practice. So I would love to hear you talk about judgment and how people can begin the process of releasing it, releasing judgment, releasing comparison, and really just focusing on what's going on in their life on their mat.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge transformation when that aha moment happens to a person. A lot of times I'll start out with, as we're getting in touch with our breath, by telling my students, let's release any inner voice, inner critic, because we all have that voice that talks to us at times. And then let's release any judgment or any expectation that we have for today. And the judgment piece is judging ourselves, because we all judge ourselves. We judge others as well, but I think it starts with judging ourselves. And if we can let go of that, my hope is that we can let go of judging others as well. Every single one of us has a story, and we don't know what that other person has been through. Right. So on the yoga mat, when we release judgment, we go, it's okay if I can't do what somebody in front of me is doing. It's okay. I'm not going to judge myself, because I know maybe my body isn't made like their body. My muscles and tendons and ligaments and bone structure are different. So it's okay if I can't do that. And, maybe I will someday, maybe I never will. And that's okay as well. So releasing judgment, when we can do that on our yoga mat, transforms the way we view others in the world around us. And I think that's a big part of life today. There's a lot of judging going on. Right. And if we can just step back from that for a second and go, well, what are people thinking about me? What are they judging me about? And kind of make it more, own it. Own your own judgment. Yeah.
Right. That's such an important part of the journey. And I know for me, it was incredibly freeing. It was a completely different experience after I released the judgment and released the competitiveness.
Yes. Yes. Because every single day is different. And right. It is for every yoga instructor too, as they're teaching. There are days that the flow is nice and smooth. And then there's days that I feel like, oh boy, that was a choppy class. And those are the days that people say, oh my gosh, your class was wonderful today. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So that's releasing my own judgment against myself and what I had thought my students might be feeling. So definitely it is just a piece of the puzzle that we find when we're on our yoga mats.
Right, right. What are some of the benefits that one could expect to experience when they start a yoga practice?
I think one of the biggest benefits is finding breath. It amazes me how many people breathe from way up under their collarbones instead of down in the belly or expanding through their rib cage. And I think that is the first transformation that a lot of students will take away from their very first few classes is, wow, I have never had a breath that deep. I
Mhm.
didn't know I was breathing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with breath, we learn so much. And it gives us a chance to dig a little deeper within and find out exactly who we are.
Right. And that I would love to hear you talk about that a little bit more, because I notice that even when I go through my day, sometimes if I'm rushing from thing to thing, my breaths are really shallow. And I have to remind myself like several times throughout the day, it's
Mm-hmm.
great, right? I mean, there's no problem that can't be solved with just a few deep breaths. So
Right.
do you do like a little mini coaching, just a little bit of coaching on how to take deep breaths? I know it sounds maybe pretty
Sure.
simplistic, but I know that there's an art to it, and there's a way to do it the right way. Would you take a few minutes to show our viewers and listeners how to do that, please?
I would love to. I would love to. So,
No.
the breath work that I use is diaphragmatic breathing, and I call it umbrella breath. Um, I didn't I didn't come up with that name on my own, but I call it umbrella breath because it's like an umbrella. As your umbrella is closed together, that's your exhale. And as you inhale, it opens up through the rib cage, and then you exhale back to center. So my directions would be to close the eyes and to visualize your rib cage, inhaling all the way around the body, from the front into the sides and the back. And then as you exhale, just gently let everything come back to the center, to the midline. And as you close your eyes, envision that umbrella opening up, allowing space and freedom to be created within your body. And exhaling back to center, releasing the exhale. And guiding yourself through each inhale and each exhale with love and kindness and compassion for yourself and for others. And as the rib cage expands, what do you feel? What do you notice within your body? Do you find any space being created? If so, where are you noticing that space? And there we would go back to that exhale. And gently blink and open the eyes and come back into the space around you.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. I did that as well, and I feel completely transformed. I mean, those breaths are just so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, big and deep. And
Right.
I like to have people think about, well, what are you feeling in your body? Because we all have sensations and feelings within our body. Maybe you have a tight left hip or something, and when you take that deep breath, you go, wow, that kind of released some of that tightness in my hip. Or maybe you think, okay, I can take this breath in my car with me. When I start to get impatient as a driver, I
Mm-hmm.
can take a breath with me and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to arrive safely. I don't have to be aggressive. I don't have to rush. I'll get there when I get there.
Right. I
Because
know.
our breath, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, our breath is something that we always have with us and we can always relate to. And, we might have a yoga mat in the back of our car, but we can't stop and pull it out and get on our mat to find our breath. But you can find your breath anywhere, any day, whether you're grocery shopping, driving in your car, or just sitting at home and there's a tense moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is such a great modality. I mean, it's so incredibly powerful, transformative, and like you said, accessible. It's something that we always have with us. Um,
Hmm.
so it's definitely something, excuse me, that I know I've incorporated over the years. And I am, always highly encourage people to just to go to your breath. I mean, it's so simple, it's accessible, but it's something I think that takes a little training, right? It takes training of the mind to remember
Yeah.
to go to your breath, right? It sounds simple when we remember, when we're doing it, but just to pause and remind ourselves that, yeah, we have this really powerful modality at our fingertips at all times.
Very true. Very true. So if somebody can get used to moving from their breath, it's easier. It's a practice, just like yoga is. So if you practice, and it doesn't take more than 30 seconds to go, I'm inhaling, nice and deep inhale. I'm exhaling a long, smooth exhale. And pretty soon you find a rhythm to it. And it's sort of like riding a wave to me. It's riding the wave in and then letting it ride back out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really in my breath work, it feels like tranquility.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. Um, so I know that for me, when I incorporated breath work, stress relief was a huge, huge benefit. Just overall, just bringing stress levels down. So, what are some other benefits that people can enjoy, during the week from doing yoga?
Well, definitely releasing stress and anxiety, that anxious feeling that we all get from time to time. Um, Breath and movement with the breath on the yoga mat, that combination clears your mind. And the only thing you are focusing on at that point is what you are doing on your rectangular piece of rubber or whatever you're using for a mat. And those 45 minutes or 75 minutes are your time for that deeper inner connection. And that is the key to me of learning that a practice of yoga can just mold a person into the kind of human that they have always thought they could be, with mindfulness and love and compassion and peace within their body. And I think it all starts, for me, it starts with that breath and clearing the mind, letting thoughts go. Because as I tell my students when we're breathing together, you can't really stop thoughts from coming in your mind, but you can envision a thought like a butterfly, and it lands on a flower, it gathers its nectar, and off it goes. So just let thoughts be like that butterfly in your mind. And then the thoughts that are truly important, the ones that really need your attention, they're going to be there later. So why worry about them right now? They'll
Right,
be there.
right. That's such a great analogy, and that's such an important thing to keep in mind, to just become an observer of our thoughts and just enjoy the beauty of them. Like you said, I love your butterfly analogy because that really helps to release the resistance and releases the
Mm-hmm.
judgment and just allows us to stay in that feeling of flow.
And I think a lot of people think of mindfulness and breathing as something that they can't do. They don't know how to do it. And they think that being mindful means they need to be focusing on only one thing. Well, thoughts, like I said, we can't control them. They come in and they come out, So as you sit and you watch those thoughts flow in and out, you can always come back to your breath if you lose that, if the thoughts are distractions, I guess is a
Mhm.
better way of putting it. So if your thoughts are distractions, just go back to your breath. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. All is well. That's
Oh,
my go-to.
I love that. All is well. So what's next on the horizon for you? I know you're like sitting squarely at the intersection of your passion, your purpose, your profession. What do you see for yourself next, for this next phase of your journey?
I just hope to continue to empower women. And I hope that I can add to their journeys, not just with prenatal yoga, but with postnatal yoga, because I think in our world, especially in America, it's all about the pregnancy, and then mommy has baby and people surround her for a few days or a week or two, and then boom, she's there in reality, and the postpartum part of life is non-existent. And postpartum is real. It's a real trying time for many women, especially if it's their first baby. So I want to also be able to empower them to ask for help. Asking for help is one of the most difficult things in life. I can't do this. Those are hard words to say. So I want them to be able to feel comfortable saying, I need help. I can't do all of this. I have a baby. I have laundry. I need to grocery shop. Life doesn't stop when we have babies.
Right.
So I want to continue that empowerment with them. And I do teach some private postnatal classes. Having a designated class typically doesn't work because moms have babies and babies are all on different schedules.
Right.
So I typically do those in private segments. I also want to help them reconnect to their inner core. And I'm not just talking oblique muscles or any of the deeper muscles. I'm talking about the pelvic floor, which is the key core muscle. And so, 40 weeks of being pregnant and then you have a baby, it's going to take some time to reconnect to that space and get it strong again. And so all of the things that I try to teach them are things that will help with that reconnecting to pelvic floor. And not all of it is yoga. Some of it are movements that I was taught through a physical therapist. Okay. So so I love to guide women on their path to becoming a mom. So if a woman is having trouble conceiving, I can help. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, somebody who can just make a miracle happen. But if they can bring yoga into their lives and let go of stress and the pressure that they're feeling to get pregnant, all my friends are pregnant, I'm not pregnant, the pressure that women put on themselves to start their family sometimes can inhibit that. So I love working with them. I call it connect to conceive. And they're connecting not just with themselves, but with their body, with their partner, with their mind. I'm a firm believer in positive affirmations, both prenatal, fertility, postnatal, and finding something that resonates and using that as a mantra for them. So yeah, I'm all about the woman, and I have to thank my mom for that. When I grew up, and I had a sister, and my sister and I, between the two of us, have 3 girls. So my mom was driven with this, you girls can do anything. She was before her time, really. And so I feel that empowerment from what my mom told me every day. You can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. And her her favorite song was the Helen Reddy, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar.
Okay.
And I think that we have grown from that, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I love that spirit, though, that spirit of being limitless and empowered and untethered and unleashed, and really stepping into our greatness. And how beautiful to have that experience of that role model in your mom during your formative years. And now you're in that role, empowering other people, and it'll just keep trickling down, right? They'll just keep empowering other people along their way, in their path.
Right.
and shining their light into the world. So such a beautiful work that you're doing on a daily basis. And again, not work, it's a labor of
Right.
love, right? It's a service. And it's
It's
a very,
totally,
yeah, it's a very,
yeah, labor of love.
right? Yeah. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing your story with us and sharing your gifts. If people would like to get in touch with you directly, what is the best way they can do that?
I am on Facebook under Born to Breathe, TO. They can join my page, just follow it if they want to. I actually do hybrid classes since coronavirus happened. So I do live classes and Zoom at the same time. So I have people who are joining me from Texas and Chicago and South Dakota and all other places around the United States. So they could follow me on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and that handle is born and the number 2 breathe. Um, and I also have a website, borntobreathe.net. And there's all kinds of ways to connect with me from my website as well, emails and that type of thing.
Great. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being here and sharing all of your wisdom and gifts today. To all of our viewers and listeners, I would like to thank you as well. Time is a choice, and I'm grateful that you have chosen to be here with us today to hear about everything Roberta has had to share. Once again, I'd love to invite you to join our Facebook group. We are at liveauthentically.today/FB, and also check out a copy of my book, SOAR, SOAR, which is on Amazon. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.